So for the first 50 plus years of my life, I really felt like I was in a race, man. A race to be the most successful, to have all the answers, and to prove my worth to everyone. My days were measured in achievements, and my value was completely tied to my productivity. And honestly, I was exhausted. I was running on a treadmill of expectations, most of which I had set for myself, based on what I thought the world wanted from me. And then one day I just stopped. I quit this race. It wasn't some dramatic movie-like moment. It was a very quiet personal decision I made for myself when I realized the cost of winning was just way too high. It was figuring out that the peace I was looking for wasn't at some finish line, but it was in the act of stepping off the track entirely. And that decision to stop, to quit, didn't just slow me down, it changed everything about my life. And it was a huge psychological shift. And today, I want to share the 7 specific things that I quit after turning 50. And because I quit those things, it has brought me great peace and happiness and joy, more than all of those years of striving ever did. And this isn't about giving up on life. It's about giving up on things that were stopping me from actually living it. The first thing I quit was that endless, draining competition with other people. From a young age, we are taught to measure ourselves against others. Who's got the better job, the biggest house, the most impressive vacation photos? Social media is not good for this, as you all know. And I was an expert at this. I'd scroll through my social media and hear about friends' promotions and feel that familiar pang of something. I don't know, it wasn't jealousy, but sometimes it was just this relentless pressure to try to keep up. And my moment of clarity came at a neighborhood barbecue when a neighbor was going on and on and on about this new top-of-the-line car he had just purchased. And I was in my late 40s, and I would have immediately started calculating how I could afford something that nice or similar. Or I would have felt a little bit inadequate about my own perfectly good truck. But this time, I just listened, and I realized I didn't care. I felt zero urge to compete. The only thought that popped into my head was, good for him, man. I hope he enjoys it. And that was it. That was the shift. I consciously decided to stop looking over my shoulder and start looking forward at my own path. The only person I compete with now is the guy that I was yesterday. Am I a little bit kinder today than I was? Did I learn something new today? Did I find a moment of real peace? That is my new scoreboard. And that's a game I actually enjoy playing. Letting go of that constant comparison felt like taking off a heavy backpack, one that I didn't even know I was carrying, for decades. And then the other thing that I let go, I quit tying my entire identity to my job. For 30 years, whenever someone asked me, so what do you do? Well, I had a quick, impressive answer ready to go because I was my job. It defined my social standing, my daily routine, and a lot of my self-worth. It was the armor that I wore out into the world. And the problem with that armor or that costume, of course, is what happens when you have to take it off. And as I got closer to 50, I saw friends go through messy retirements or layoffs, and they were lost. Their identity had been so wrapped up in their careers that without it, they weren't them. They didn't know who they were. And I knew that I didn't want that for myself. So I started asking myself, if my career disappeared tomorrow, what's left? And that is a terrifying question at first, but you're then forced to answer that question by actually investing time in other parts of your life. I got back into hobbies I dropped off in my 20s and 30s, and I invested more deeply in my relationships, not as a successful professional, but as a man, a husband, a father, a neighbor, a friend. I let myself get curious again, and I started reading about things that had nothing to do with my field or career. It was just for the joy of learning something new, and that was pretty goddamn refreshing, man. So quitting my career as my main identity didn't mean that I stopped working or caring about my job. It just meant that I built a life that was so rich and varied that my career became just part of it, not the whole thing. Now when people ask what I do, I might mention my work, but I'm also just as likely to talk about a book that I'm reading or the garden that I'm failing to grow year after year. But most importantly, I am no longer a title. I'm a person. And number 3, and this one is going to seem weird to a lot of people, but it's a subtle one, but it's a huge source of wasted energy. At least it was for me. And I quit the need to finish everything I started. We're all raised on that mantra, winners never quit, quitters never win. We're told to finish the book, even if we hate it by page 50. To see a project through, even if it no longer inspires us or we find no joy in it. And I used to have a bookshelf of half-read books that I felt guilty about. I had a workshop full of projects that had become chores instead of passions. And that guilt, that nagging feeling of failure for not finishing, is a constant low-level stress. And it eats away at your life. And the change for me happened one day, particularly dense and highly acclaimed novel that everyone said I had to read. So I went to get it, and I got it. And it was about 100 pages into it, and I was miserable. I felt like this is shit. It felt like homework. And for weeks, it just sat on my nightstand, taunting me. Then one night, I picked it up, looked at it, and kind of said out loud, I'm not finishing you. And I put it in a donation box, and the sense of relief was incredible. I didn't have to look at that book on the shelf anymore. Giving myself permission to stop something that I hated was very liberating. And I realized my time and energy are very finite. They're precious. Forcing myself to finish something that I no longer care about and no longer brings me joy and knowledge or value is just a profound waste of time. Now I give a book about 50 pages. I give a new hobby a couple weeks. And if I'm not feeling it, man, I let it go, guilt-free. Quitting the unfulfilling has created so much space for things that actually matter. And the 4th thing that I've learned to let go is doing things out of obligation. I don't know how many of you have done that, but saying yes when I actually meant no. I quit doing things purely out of obligation, and my calendar used to be filled with events that I secretly dreaded. Distant relatives party, the neighborhood meeting, the favor for a friend of a friend of a friend, and I did them because I felt like I should. I was afraid of disappointing people or being seen as selfish. And the result was that I'd often show up to these things very resentful. I was there physically, but my mind and spirit were completely somewhere else. And it actually made a worse friend. I made a worse friend and a worse family member because my yes wasn't genuine. It was a debt I was paying off, not a gift I was giving. The turning point was a family gathering that I truly didn't have energy to attend. And in the past, I would have just powered through it, been miserable, and probably, soured the mood at the event for everyone else because I'd have been so freaking pissy. But this time I made a tough phone call, and I was honest, and I said, I love you all very much, man, but I just don't have it in me to be good company this weekend, and I need to rest. And I was braced for the guilt trip that I thought was coming, but instead I got some understanding, and that felt really good. So by quitting obligation, my yes became something real again. And when I agree to something now, it is because I genuinely want to be there. And people can feel that. They get the best version of me. And I've learned that it's far kinder to give an honest no than a resentful yes. And it respects the other person. And more importantly, it respects your own limits. Now, we're on to number 5, and this was a big one for me. It's tough for my ego, and that is to quit feeling the need to always be right. You know, I spent so much of my life in debates, at work, at the dinner table, even in my own head, just trying to prove my point. And it wasn't about finding the truth. It was about winning a debate. Being right felt like a victory, like a validation of my intelligence. But the truth is, those victories are very hollow. They rarely change anyone's mind. And more often than not, they just created tension. And I might win the argument, but I damaged the connection with the person I was arguing with. And I was sacrificing relationships for the sake of my own ego. You know, I remember this reoccurring argument I used to have with my wife. And it's embarrassing now to look back on it, but it was about what is the right way to load a dishwasher. And it's a ridiculous low stakes debate. But for years I would die on that hill, man, defending my system. One day, right in the middle of my usual diatribe about this, I saw the look on my wife's face. And it wasn't anger, it was exhaustion. And I thought, what in the hell am I even doing? What does winning this argument actually get me? It gets me nothing. I'm hurting someone I love, and in the moment, I just let it go. I said, you know what? You're right. Let's do it your way. And the peace that washed over the room was real. And so I started applying this to other places in life and pretty much use it everywhere now. And I began asking myself, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? And most of the time, the answer is pretty clear. I will choose peace. Quitting the need to be right doesn't mean you become a doormat. It just means that you're wise enough to know which battles are worth fighting and which are a complete waste of your energy and time. So we all have people in our life. Some people call them vampires, energy vampires, or energy suckers, or energy takers. It's number 6. And when you figure this one out, it is a game changer for your daily well-being. Quit tolerating the energy suckers in your life. You know who I'm talking about. The people who, after every single interaction, leave you feeling drained and negative, and they can be chronic complainers, manipulators, or just people who only ever talk about themselves. And so for years, I had a few of these relationships in my life, and I kept them around out of some misplaced sense of loyalty or just to avoid the awkwardness of creating distance. And I'd hang up the phone or leave the lunch feeling like I had just run a marathon and my energy was gone, gassed, and my mood was shot. And the decision to quit them wasn't some dramatic big confrontation. It was a gradual, quiet process of taking my energy back. I stopped being the first one to reach out. I let some phone calls go to voicemail. I replaced long, draining lunches with a simple, hey man, I can't make it, but I hope you guys have a great time. And it felt selfish at first. It does, it really does. But I quickly realized it was an essential act of self-preservation. You know, your time and energy are not unlimited. By putting up boundaries with people who consistently drain you, you can suddenly have so much more energy for the people in your life that you truly love and care about and are supportive and positive. And my good relationships got even better because I wasn't showing up, already run down and running on empty. Protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's what allows you to show up for the other people in your life who truly matter. Okay, number 7 is a big one. And I think we have all done it, and we shouldn't. Expecting other people to change. And it's probably the most profound thing that I quit. And that was, I spent years of my life quietly and sometimes not so quietly wishing people were different. I wished a family member were more ambitious. I wish a friend was less pessimistic. I thought that if they would just change this one thing, our relationship would be so much better and they would be much happier. And that whole recipe is a mindset for constant frustration. And I was basically trying to be the director of a play where nobody else had even read the script. I was trying to control the one thing I have absolutely zero power over, and that is other people. And my peace came from when I finally embraced the acceptance and realized that my wanting others to change was really just a disguised form of judgment. And I was telling them without saying it that who they were right now wasn't good enough. And the real shift happened when I turned that focus back on myself. The only person I can change and have control over is me. I can change how I react. I can change my expectations. I can set my boundaries. And by accepting people exactly as they are, I stop being disappointed in them. Now, this doesn't mean you have to put up with bad behavior. Acceptance and boundaries go hand in hand, but it means you can let go of the exhaustion, the pointless project of trying to fix everyone. Quitting that freed me from so much anger, and ironically, it allowed my relationships to become more honest and much, much deeper. So my 7 things: I quit competing with others, tying my identity to my career, forcing myself to finish everything, acting out of obligation, needing to be right, tolerating energy suckers and vampires, and expecting other people to change. Those are my big 7. Now, looking back, none of this was about giving up. I mean, every time I quit one of these things, I was actually gaining something. So I gained peace. I gained time and energy. I gained a more real relationship with myself and with the people around me. And the second half of life doesn't have to be about fading away, man. For me, it's been about shedding all the unnecessary bullshit and weight I carried for decades, so I can walk my own path more freely and with more joy than ever before. And it's never too late to quit the things that aren't serving you well. So these are the things that changed everything for me. But of course, everyone's journey is different. And that's what makes this so damn interesting. So I would love to hear from you. What is one thing you've let go of or that you want to let go of to live a more authentic life? Let's share some wisdom and learn from each other. You can put it all in the comments below. Be an open book. And if this resonates with you, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. I'm planning a lot more content and conversations like this one, and I want to thank you for watching today. Remember, folks, there are no ordinary days. Go out and do something great for yourself and someone else, and I will catch you next time. Again, thanks for being here. I am out.